We're live. Hello. I'm really excited for this live stream today. If this is your first time meeting me, my name is 𝘀𝗲𝗹𝗃 his𝗴. I am a personal trainer, transformational coach, and energy healer. And I am the genius behind the boss babes that corrects the sabotage and the ghosting that gets between them and their dream body. So in today's live stream, I'm going to be sharing with you what it really takes to have your dream body, but move with the feminine energy to where we really embody who we are at our core on every single level. So a lot of times we think that we have to work out super duper hard to get these results, right? And it's like back in the day, it used to be boot camp, and then it became CrossFit, and then now it's Orange Theory and whatever else there is. And when I actually made my gym Pilates Barbell Club, it was because I was working at several Pilates studios on that grind, and I was working at a gym. And so I had different clients for each of the environments. And a lot of the Pilates clients, even though they were ashamed to admit that they wanted to have an aesthetic transformation, because they would always fill out on their intake form that they wanted a strong core, so they would have a strong back. But then when you actually met them and started exercising with them, then it became like the truth really came out that they wanted a little aesthetic change. They wanted to see a little bit of their tricep on the back of the arm. So lo and behold, most of us want to have an aesthetic transformation. We're just too ashamed to admit it because we don't want to appear shallow. Bullshit. I call bullshit. So anyway, a lot of the women left the Pilates studio so that they could go do boot camp because that was all the rage. You got up at 5 a.m., you were running, you were lifting weights, you were slamming balls, you were doing all these ridiculous things in the hopes that you were going to lose 50 pounds, in a month's time, and you were going to have this sculpted, lean body of your dreams. Well, usually what happened is clients would come back to Pilates very sad because all they got was an injury, because their body was not conditioned to do that type of a workout. And it was frankly really fucking dumb. It was so freaking stupid. I mean, like, it was retarded. It was stupid. It was stupid. And the word retard is actually to reverse or revert. It was retarded. Okay. Don't get your feelings hurt because I'm using real words here. So then when we had my workout people who were at the gym, they did not value any type of restorative workout. They did not want to waste their time on any type of stretches. They just wanted to be fit. And a lot of these women had the perfectionist mentality, and they were always racing against themselves. They had that like internal drive that they had to prove themselves in a man's world. So I had these two different types of clientele, and I was like, well, what if I just came up with a workout that crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's, so that a personal trainer like myself would not lose a client to boot camp, and the clients who would get injured because they didn't value any type of restorative work, I could teach teachers or teach personal trainers how to give the restorative work to their clients. I mean, this was a certification. I kind of forgot about that. I tried making a certification, and I got screwed by a company in Colorado. They took a ton of my money and didn't help me make the certification. Anyway, I digress. So I realized that if I could give people, especially trainers, a way to systematically give clients the experience that they needed so that they could have their body stay healthy long term, and they could have the immediate results of weight loss and toning up, then like that was perfect. And that's what Pilates Barbell Club. It was a signature workout that was 45 minutes long, and we did corrective type exercise, we did Pilates, we did strength training, we did accessory work, we did conditioning. I mean, I even had women pushing a sled, So my point is that there are so many ways that women think that we're supposed to work really hard to be able to earn this body. And a lot of this comes from the mindset that we have to prove ourselves in the man's world, but we have to prove ourselves in general and prove ourselves to ourselves that we are worthy of the body. because we do this really weird thing in our head that if we work really hard, then that equates to worth. And that's a little bit of how the system is designed, especially with money. And the overarching idea of money and worth just ends up going into every facet of life. And since it was the matriarchal societies that got disembodied for power by men, then our bodies became the thing that was once revered that then became unholy, especially with the onset of the Christian church in 1524, where all of our temples and all of our spiritual books and ways of being in communion with God the Mother got demolished to make way for this new external male deity that we were not connected to, that we had to prove that we were worthy of. So this idea of working really hard is something that is deeply ingrained in us on the cellular level from our experience of just being a woman. So this is really deep stuff that we're working with here. But the good news is that it's so simple to correct because you have everything that you need. You have a brain, you have your heart, and you have your body. So what ends up happening when you take this approach to exercising, we switch from having to work really hard to tell ourselves first. It's really about ourselves that these conversations are happening, but they get programmed into us because of society. And well, yeah, because of society and because of our upbringing and our culture, right? So when we have this idea that we have to work really hard, that is what allows us to take the foot off the gas when we want to take a rest. Like we won't rest until we've proven to ourselves that we've done enough work. And so the problem with this is that when it goes into the body, we end up doing things that are counterintuitive, that are against our better judgment because we're looking for this external validation or this external check mark to say that we can rest or that we do deserve whatever it is that we think that this dream body is going to get us. So when I started to look at my body, in terms of health, like when I had my repressed emotions cause my neck injury, and when I started to learn about repressed emotions from the ages of 0 to 3 with Dr. John Sarno, that made me flip the entire script on the relationship that I had with my body. And that was in 2017. And so what happened in that time when I injured my neck is that I had an identity crisis, because before I hurt my neck, my body became a thing that was based on my worth around my body was based on the performance of how much weight I could lift. I was into powerlifting shortly before my neck got injured, and I really cared about proving how strong I was and making sure that I was always stronger than my clients, because one of my barbell coaches said, you should always be 6 months stronger than your clients. So I really took that literally. So I really pushed myself really hard, worked out sick, worked out injured, and working out injured. I still do that now, but when I work out while I'm injured, it's because I'm actually doing restorative work and I'm using the bodybuilding exercises to create balance with whatever muscles are strained. And I have a torn ACL, and I'm still doing my glute workout twice a week because I'm really focusing on strengthening all of the muscles that kind of overlap diagonally around the knee. So it's almost like I'm creating an internal bandage, because with the torn ACL, your body doesn't stop. Your knee doesn't stop bending backwards. It doesn't have a lock. And so that's where we have like where your knee will buckle. So my point is that when I hurt my neck in 2017, the identity crisis was that if I can't do anything, if I cannot perform physically, then what is my body here for? And when I got into strength training, it was because that was part of my healing from diet culture and from binging, where I was like, I have to change how I'm viewing my body. My worth should not be associated with how much I weigh and what I look like. So to have that like kind of growth that got a little bit out of control with performance, with strength training, to then have the neck injury that didn't allow me to even sit for more than 5 minutes at a time, I was like, well, then what is the body here for? And that's when I really started to learn and educate myself about emotions and how the mind body works. So it's been a long road, but it's been absolutely incredible because every time something happens to my body, my Chiron is in Taurus, so my eternal wound is always going to be through the body. I'm probably always going to deal with something with my body. But what ends up happening is the way that I restore the area that gets injured, I literally just get hotter because the muscles that I end up strengthening and stretching to balance where an injury was ends up giving me more of an hourglass figure. So I'm like totally here for it. This is great. So when you are taking on this embodiment that you are going to be moving like a feminine goddess, what that means in that feminine energy is that you are both. The feminine great mother, like she's called the great cosmic mother. And the first images of quote unquote God was actually of a woman giving birth in the Neolithic era. And there's all these cultures all over the world that revered the feminine body. And when we go into not creation, evolution. When we go into evolution and we take a look at the ocean, I came across some studies with anthropology that the ocean was able to create life through polarized energy of positive and negative, not through intercourse. And that science part with the a foundational belief that God is a woman and the woman being able to have masculine and feminine energy, although men have that too. But for the women, it's just a little bit different of how our masculine and our feminine energy presents itself. And so when we're able to embody the feminine in this movement, what we're actually doing is letting ourselves be fully seen and being fully expressed in who we are. Because when we're looking at it as like a sense of wholeness, like if it's a sphere that I always love to reference our consciousness as a sphere of energy, because it's not that there is light energy that's like way up here and there's dark energy that's way down here, and that it's always going to be this or that. It's more of like all together in like a nice soft fuzzy ball. And so when we're looking at how everything is interconnected with this energy, then that means that when we are expressing ourselves and we're being in our body, we are allowing ourselves to transform our body into whatever it is that we desire for whatever reason. And a lot of the times when we get afraid of having an aesthetic transformation, it's because of the ways that we're going to be judged for it. And so if we let go of the fear of how we're going to be judged for how we want to look and the reasons why we want to look that way, and allow that feminine, all-encompassing foundational energy just take place, plus we let go of the conditioning that says that we have to work really hard to prove to ourselves that then we can rest, or prove to ourselves that then we are worthy of what we think the dream body is going to give us, then we're really able to make this switch long term to where we automatically, just with that decision, enhance the communication that we have with our intuition. And so in the fat life, this is like such a big foundational piece for us in the fat life. In the fat life, it stands for P for process, H to heal, A, align, and T to transcend. We have to make this internal shift within ourselves. And so when we're in the fat life, you have a couple of requirements for your physical exercise. I have expectations of you. And so one of them is that you are doing one of 3 alignment exercise workouts every single day, one of 3. And I have them broken up into the upper body, the deep core, and the lower body. And what this does is it targets the main joints, the fulcrums in your body that allow energy to transfer. Because a lot of times, because we're on our devices with our head down, because we're seated, our hip flexors get really tight and our butt cheeks get really stretched out. And then because the butt muscles and the hip muscles are not functioning properly, they're imbalanced, then the spine that's supposed to have these natural curves that go in and out, sometimes it will accentuate a curve one direction or the other, or all the curves are just going to lengthen out to almost a straight back. And we need shock absorption so that the discs can stay healthy. When we don't have correct shock absorption in our spine, the pressure gets heavier and heavier and heavier on the disc, and then our discs degenerate. And when you don't have discs, you have pressure on the nerves, and that's really painful as we age. So when you do the alignment exercises, you're focusing on the hips, you're focusing on the shoulders of how these joints are actually designed and how they move when you walk. Because then that way, all of the systems in your body, you have all these different diagonal sling systems in your body that then come into balance. So then all of a sudden, you actually start to feel that you can move like a woman. You don't feel like a bunch of blocks, right? So then the second thing that you have to do in the fat life is you have to commit to one bodybuilding workout a week. You're allowed to work out more than once a week, but the reason why you are required to work out one day a week and follow through with it is because that's what builds your masculine energy of doing. And so I was just talking to my chiropractor. I always fill him in on my dating situation. And he asked if the most recent man had made it to date number 4. And I'm like, nope, he did not. He did not make it to date number 4. And one of the things that I shared with him, oh my God, I lost my train of thought. Why was I going to tell him about Dr. Cam? Why was I telling him about that? Oh, this is what it was. Because this particular man, even though we are not on board with some of our worldviews, which is like the reason why I didn't want to go out with him again, is that what I really liked about him is that he told me what he was going to do and then he did it. And then even on one request to go out, he was like, okay, this is what I'm thinking. I'm going to come up to your area because he was an hour away. He's like, I'm going to come up to your area. We're going to go to dinner. And then we're going to go to such and such place. And so I'm going to need you for about 4 hours. So when you have 4 hours free on your schedule, you let me know when that is. And I was like, yes, sir. Okay. And this man followed through with every single thing that he said he was going to do. And that is so important. And what I was saying to my chiropractor, I was like, I like a man who like sets a schedule and says what's going to happen, because sorry guys, but in the dating world, most of you do not have any follow through. And so most men do not make any plans because they don't have any way, they don't need to be accountable to anything. And that's just not going to fly with me. So my point is that when we are using energy as our foundation for everything that we're doing with our body, when we commit to working out at least once a week and we follow through, we're completing a cycle in manifestation where we combined a thought, a feeling, and an action. So then what ends up happening is you really become a creator of your reality because your body is the reality. And then when your body is now like completing the gap of the action of a thought, a feeling, because that's a masculine energy of a positive charge, a negative energy of a feminine charge. You're the wild card. You are the neutral child of the two who is the new birthed reality. So every time you act in alignment with what you say you want and how you feel about it, you are closing the gap of manifestation. And it goes both ways. You could be creating nightmares from your unconscious because you're not dealing with your shit, or you are creating your dreams because you're consciously being aware of your thoughts and feelings as often as possible. So what happens is when you're working out in the fat life with the bodybuilding workout, you have an upper body exercise playlist on YouTube where you're working the chest and you have a couple of options of what muscles in the shoulders to work. And you do a deep core exercise and you do an aesthetic core exercise. The second workout playlist is for the glutes and the legs. And so some days you're going to do a squat pattern where your body goes up and down, or you're going to do a hinge pattern where your body goes back and forth. And on those days, you don't do abs on those days because Some of the glute exercises, you need your core to stabilize to do the exercise correctly. So you really don't need to do extra abs on the leg day. The third and final playlist is for the back. And so the back speaks for itself, but then also you always do posterior shoulders. The chest, you get to do, you have options of either working the side shoulder, the front shoulder, or overhead press. But on back day, you always work the posterior shoulders because it's just smart. It just makes sense to do. And then you have one exercise for the deep core and then one exercise for the aesthetic core. And so what ends up happening, even if you do one workout a week, long term, you are going to create a really beautiful body that has longevity to it. Because when you do the alignment exercises, you're making sure that all the fulcrums are exactly where they should be. And then all the muscles that move the fulcrums are getting strengthened and stretched and into balance with these very specific bodybuilding workouts. You're doing a lot of the things that my mom and I do on a regular basis. I don't change much about my workout. I change like the tempo. I change, the tempo, like how fast I do things, how many partials I do, if I'm going to go lighter to do higher reps, if I'm going to do heavier to work a little bit more strength training. But this whole nonsense of muscle confusion and having to change your workouts all the time is bullshit marketing designed for people who have short-term attention spans. Sorry if that's you. Grow the fuck up. You have to get yourself into a mode where you are doing something long-term because you're not going to be this young and beautiful forever. Okay. So FYI, you actually have access to these workouts for free because what I have been doing is putting my like instructional and my intro videos to the Fat Life trainings on YouTube in a public format so that anybody can look to really see like what would I be paying for? Like what would I be paying for if I did the community coaching for $555 a month? Is this actually worth it? What am I paying if I'm doing a private container where it's $1,500 a month? Is this really worth it? So I have a lot of the videos that are inside the Fat Life free on YouTube. There are some that are unlisted because the value is way too high to put out publicly. But why I'm sharing this with you because if you are on a tight budget and you go to my YouTube and you see intro to the alignment exercises, intro to the little black dress bodybuilding, you actually can spy the QR codes to the workout playlist. But also I have like 1,000 videos on YouTube and almost every single one of my exercise videos is public. So you actually could do all of the alignment exercises that I just shared with you and the bodybuilding program. Just go to the playlist, look for alignment exercise or corrective exercise it might be, and then look up legs, look up glutes, look up whatever. You really have access to everything that I have just shared with you on this live stream. So if you are feeling ready that you want to create a long-term body of your dreams, you want longevity, you want to work on your upper body so that you have tall posture, you want to work on your deep core so that when you're an older woman, your bladder does not prolapse out of your body. You want to work on your glutes because you want your hips to stay really strong. One of the things when I was getting certified over 20 years ago is I was talking with a physical therapist and he said, you know, a lot of women, they die in the hospital after they break their hip, after they have a fall. But he said it's usually not the fall that breaks the hip. It's usually a hairline fracture in the hip from osteoporosis. And then eventually that hairline fracture just completely breaks. And then that's what takes you down. It's not like you lost your balance. The bone just gave out. And so he was explaining like the importance of working the hips. And I've been doing band exercises since 2012 on my hips before they became all the rage. And I was doing them for rehab for powerlifting. So why am I sharing this with you? Oh, so if you're ready, geez, if you're ready to have this long-term goal with your body, I have 3 ways to share with you how you can join the Fat Life. The first one is $49 a month, and it is gamified, which means that you have access to all the trainings, you have access to the community wall, you have a weekly Q&A post that I will address once a week, and then you have an opportunity to win a one of the community coaching calls. And the leaderboard keeps track of all your activity on the platform. So the more you interact and the more lessons that you do of the modules, then the more your leaderboard goes up. And the leaderboard drops down to 0 every single month. So every single month you have an opportunity to win live coaching. The next option is the community, and the community coaching is a 6-month container. You can pay it monthly or you can pay it in full. And you have one payment that's going to be processed through one link, and then another payment through school.com for $49. Because I don't have I don't have a way to have people enter the school platform for free. So the payment, and you can only have one option on school.com for payments. So we have to have 2 links for the bigger coaching packages. If you want to do the private coaching, it's a 12-month commitment. You can pay monthly or you can pay in full, and it's $1,500 a month. And again, you're going to have 2 links for that. I think that's all I want to say. Yeah, so I put the links in the description, the caption on this on Facebook and on Instagram and on YouTube. So you can check out those links. If you use the code rebirth50, you get 50% off the first month of the community coaching and 50% off the first month of the private coaching. The gamified, you do not get 50% off. It's always $49 and you can cancel that at any time. All right, bye.